What's up, everybody? Damon Hatfield here, senior editor at IGN, and today we're talking about the current state of mobile gaming. We've got the Nintendo 3DS, the PlayStation Vita is right around the corner, and of course the iPhone and iPad have become very popular gaming platforms in a very short amount of time. I am joined today by PlayStation editor Colin Moriarty.
Yep.
Justin Davis is our new wireless editor, and Rich George runs all of our Nintendo content here on IGN. Gentlemen, the number one difference between these systems, this isn't a Vita of course, but the 3DS and the Vita and the iPhone and iPad is that these are dedicated gaming platforms, whereas the iPhone and iPad are all-in-one media devices that do a million things. Already we're seeing the 3DS struggling, even though it's been out for several months, while the iPhone and iPad continue to get more and more popular. So what I'm wondering is the time of the dedicated handheld, dedicated gaming handhelds over?
Yes.
Well,
thank you for joining us.
We're done. No, I mean, I think they're not over per se. Like, I think those devices will always have their place, right? They're just not going to be as successful as they were, right? I mean, DS had unprecedented success, and I don't think you're able to duplicate that again. Not with the iPhone. You know, the DS launched before the iPhone was around. iPhone has changed things. So that's simple, I think.
So you think there's still going to be a place for these guys?
It'll be niche, you know. Like, I mean, people are still going to want their Mario and their Zelda, you know, Uncharted, stuff like that. You know, the deeper, longer gaming experiences, and those technically are on the iPhone and the iPad, but I think they're more at home on the dedicated devices. So I think there will be, you know, people who want that sort of thing. But you know, when I'm just walking down the street, I'm just carrying my iPhone. I mean, I'm the same way. You know,
But I wonder how long Nintendo and Sony will keep making handhelds for a niche market.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, that's the big question, right? I mean, we already saw Nintendo decided it can't sell a niche product for $250. You know, you can actually buy one, you know, right around the price drop for $70 if you do your shopping right. So, I mean, you know, it's just that simple. They're going to have to be smart about how they do this.
But Justin, you disagree?
Yeah, definitely. I don't think it makes sense for these companies to continue making handhelds. I think we've seen when the iPhone launched, it wasn't even intended as a gaming device at all. You know, Apple sort of moved into games reluctantly. They said, okay, games is going to be one of about a dozen categories on the App Store, and then it just blew up, and it's, you know, all the top-grossing apps are games. We see the same thing on Facebook, for example. They sort of moved into games reluctantly, you know, and now it's a huge part of their business as well. So you see games sort of taking over these things where they weren't even really intended. And I don't see any reason, I don't think you need a dedicated device. I think you see things like Final Fantasy III on the iPad, you know, it plays great. Final Fantasy Tactics just came out on the iPhone. That game does experience some slowdown, but you know, the touch controls are nice on that as well. And there's really no reason, as more time goes on, we're going to see more and more of these games that used to end up on the dedicated devices appearing on these other devices. Touch Detective, actually. You remember that old DS game? That's on iOS now. It's really just a matter of time until we see more and more games that sort of core gamers look out for appearing on these devices.
So Colin, I know you're excited about the Vita.
Definitely.
But you just also just ordered yourself an iPad.
I did order an iPad. I mean, I kind of agree with what both of them are saying in the sense that I do think that the dedicated handhelds days are numbered, but we have to put that into context in terms of the Vita is going to have a long life and 3DS is going to have a long life. Obviously, PSP sold 70 million units. We can't forget that, you know, that's more than Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3, so it was wildly successful. Rich already said these units, neither of them are going to sell as much as the PSP, nonetheless, the DS. But I think in particular, what we're missing is the type of game that you would play on iPad or iPhone, and the type of game that you would play on something like the Vita or even the 3DS. The Achilles heel of the iPhone and the iPad will always be that it doesn't have buttons, and there are just certain things you really can't do on it. The games that Justin mentioned, like Final Fantasy Tactics and Final Fantasy III, are turn-based games and don't really require you know, active controls in order to take control. A game like Call of Duty, which we don't know much about but will be on Vita, really wouldn't be able to go on iPad or iPhone. So these things are all doing different things. I think Vita especially is catering towards the Sony fan that already exists. I don't think new fans are going to, you know, come out of the woodwork for Vita any more than I think they're going to come out of the woodwork or have come out of the woodwork for 3DS.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think success is relative, right? So you're going to see a lot more games sold on the iPad. You're going to see a lot more, you know, iOS devices out there than Vitas or 3DSs, but they can still they don't need to succeed at the expense of something else. They might experience a different kind of success. I would agree with that.
Yeah, and I agree. I mean, I do agree with that in the sense that, you know, Apple's changed the game so many times. They changed the game with personal computers. They changed the game with operating systems. They changed the game now with, you know, tablets and phones. But, you know, they're not really doing it, like Justin said, in terms of games intentionally, and so I still think games are going to funnel towards these handhelds, and especially with the support for Vita, I think is pretty clear that it's going to have a long burn with software, and that's really what matters.
You're right. You find different types of games on these different systems, but I noticed two things. I think the amount of people who want to play big console type of adventures on a handheld is rather small. I think we're finding that most people prefer that Angry Birds type of like quick on-the-go experience. But we also see games becoming more and more sophisticated for iOS platforms. So I don't think it's too far off when we're going to have Uncharted, Zelda type adventures on those systems.
I still go back to that console quality game. Like I'm a huge Uncharted fan. I love it. I know people think of me as the Tiny Wings guy, but I own the home consoles and play them a lot, and love Uncharted. So you would think, oh, Uncharted Vita, I'm pumped about that, but not really, because in my head the only thing I'm thinking is, well, I'd rather be playing this on my couch on a big TV. Like I had a PSP and I had Daxter, I had Ratchet and Clank. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, these are totally fun, but I'd still rather be playing them with a controller on a television. Like, I don't see, to me, handheld games are very separate than console games. And maybe I'm in the minority. Maybe lots of people would love, the next Call of Duty on the go, but I don't.
Well, it seems like Colin and Rich are on the same page, that these systems can all coexist. However, the 3DS and the Vita will not see as much success as their predecessors, and it could very well be that this is the last round of dedicated gaming handhelds from those companies. Whereas Justin seems to think it's already over. He's already declared victory.
Yeah, I was a huge Nintendo DS guy, big PSP guy, and I don't own a 3DS yet. I don't need it.
The times are definitely changing. Lots of interesting developments ahead. Whatever your handheld gaming platform of choice is, you can keep up with it right here at IGN.com. Thank you for joining us today. We'll talk to you soon.